Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 74 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here, we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday. Join our Facebook group, Life Transformation Radio Community, and never miss an episode by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. Life Transformation Radio can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, the Himalaya app, Google Play Music app, and now available on Pandora. Subscribe, rate, and review the show. Let us know how we're doing. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings that are impacting the world around them. And my guest today has done exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, call us up at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. And with that, I want to welcome my guest for today, Ariann Thomas. Welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Hi, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here today.
I am pumped for this because we had an amazing conversation at an event, New Media Summit, about what you do. And I said, yep, you have to be on the show.
I know. I was thrilled to meet you because I really wanted to be on your show and talk to your audience.
This is literally, if I had to pick a topic that isn't really covered a whole lot, but talks about transformation in depth, this would be the one. This is it.
Great. Well, I'm thrilled to talk about it.
So the title of this episode is Ancestral Wisdom with Ariann Thomas. She is a leading expert in ancestral wisdom. She has been practicing ancestral lineage clearing and genetic healing internationally for over 16 years in private and group sessions and trains other practitioners. Her energy healing work is based on 35 years of metaphysic and science studies and healing in the native traditions of North and South America. Ariann primarily carries the profound, subtle energy of an elder, teacher, advisor, and wisdom carrier. She is part Cherokee by heritage and is a ceremonialist, an intuitive reader and healer. She combines ancient wisdom with science to clearly explain our connection to the past to clear present life difficulties. Ariann is the author of Healing Family Patterns, Ancestral Lineage Clearing for Personal Growth, and Changing Our Genetic Heritage, Creating a New Reality for Ourselves and Future Generations, and co-author of The Female Factor, a confidence guide for women, and The Total Woman, and a contributing author to Yoga for the Brain, which releases next year in February of 2020. And she writes a monthly column for Conscious Shift magazine. Her Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and LinkedIn links are right there in the show notes. Connect with her on those social media platforms. Let her know that you heard her episode of Life Transformation Radio. And with that, my first question I have to ask, and is the most important question that you could ever be asked, is why? Why do you do what you do?
because I think it's very important for people to connect with their ancestors and to appreciate their family heritage and the values and the gifts that they've received from their family, and also to release those unwanted heritage gifts, shall we call them, that don't serve them. Okay?
Wow.
Because, yeah, all of us have gotten some disadvantages from our families that don't serve us in our life. Some of those things that we've inherited from the past and from our ancestors, old beliefs, old diseases, old relationship patterns, or patterns of relating to others and the world that hold us back from our joy, from our happiness, from our fulfillment in this life. And if we can release those genetic patterns, if we can release those life patterns and embrace those family patterns that do serve us, then we can really blossom in this life. And that's why I do the work that I do.
Absolutely love it. What I've heard, whether it be through Bible scripture or just in everyday life, is that the sins of the past, and there's a genetic or a family history, a curse, something that happened, maybe like a long time ago, and just it goes down the family line.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really understood that until our conversation, and how really true that can be.
Yes. And they talk about the sins of the father being visited on the sons and daughters.
Yep.
And what we know now from the science of epigenetics is that not only do we inherit things like our height and our eye color and our hair color and our intelligence from our families, but we also inherit things like memories, and we inherit illnesses from our ancestors, not only from our parents and grandparents, but also further down our genetic line. But the good news is, Sean, is that we can change that. We can change those quote-unquote sins. We can change those memories, those patterns, those illnesses, those curses by what we do in our everyday lives. And the really good news is that our ancestors can help us, because our ancestors love us. They're not sitting there going, you were bad and you have to be punished for what you do. Our ancestors who have gone on before us have a lot of wisdom, because they look back on their lives and went, uh-oh, boy, did I screw that one up. And they look back and go, oh, gee, I hope you don't make the same mistake that I did.
I've heard that.
Right. I mean, you look back on your life. I look back on my life and went, oh, I blew that one.
Yep.
And so we want to help the younger ones, right? We want to go, oh, please don't do that. Been there, done that,
Got the T-shirt.
Yeah. You really don't want to make that mistake. And so our ancestors look at us and go, oh, here, dear, let me help you. And our ancestors have lots of wisdom. And so if we reach out to them and ask, they can guide us, and they can send energy to us, and they can help us shift those bad genetic patterns and help us learn from their mistakes to live better lives, healthier lives, more prosperous and abundant lives, and truly live fulfilling lives now in this time and space. Isn't that delightful?
It's hopeful, right?
It is.
It's hopeful. You know, I know about like the genetic part. Like you go to a doctor and they're like, "Do you have a family history of this?" High blood pressure, heart failure, kidney, whatever. Are you saying that those medical genetic, happenings, markers, whatever you want to call it, is a reflection of things of the past, or are you just talking about events like the grandfather was an alcoholic, the dad's an alcoholic, the son's an alcoholic, like that type of stuff? So when we talk about genetic healing, what exactly are we healing? Are we healing just the family curse that everybody in the family is not good? They don't live a quality of life? Or are we talking medical?
Both.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So we are actually talking about genetic changes in our DNA. Because where does our DNA come from? It comes from our families.
Yep.
It comes from our ancestors, comes from our parents, comes from our grandparents and great-grandparents and back, right?
Yep.
That's where high blood pressure comes from, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, all of those kinds of things. So, besides medicine and doctors and lifestyle, we can change those things on a genetic level. So let me give you an example of how I work and the changes that it can make. I had a client who came to me, and he'd been on high blood pressure medication for 25 years. Okay? And he was doing everything right. He had a good diet. He exercised every day. He was at a reasonable weight. He had done everything right. He had done everything that his doctors told him, and he still had high blood pressure. And he came to me and he said, I don't know what else to do. Can you help me? So I took him back to meet the original ancestor who started the family history of high blood pressure and heart disease in his family. We went back to that ancestor who basically lived a life of unhappiness because he missed marrying his true love. And so the rest of his life he spent unhappily. And he died being unhappy, unhealthy, and regretful. And we changed his life, his energy, his life path, so that he actually ended up loving his first true love, marrying her, and having a happy and fulfilled life. We brought that energy from the past into his life, into the present, shifted that energy, and within 3 months, he had reduced his blood pressure medication in half. And he made no other changes. He didn't change his diet, didn't change his exercise routine. And his doctor said, that he expected he would be able to go off his heart medication in another 3 or 4 months.
Wow. It's amazing.
And I will continue with another short story. I'll try to keep this short, Sean. We have a history of heart disease in my family. My mother died of a heart attack, and she had had heart disease for 40 years. My grandfather died of a heart attack. My sister had her first, shall we say, near-death heart attack when she was 48. My brother has 4 stents in his heart. And I had a niece in her 20s who was having high triglycerides, high cholesterol, and showing severe indications of heart disease. And I went, wait a minute, time to stop this. We are not going to continue this pattern in my family. Now, I do not work with people who are in the immediate stages of disease. You've got to be stabilized in order to do this energetic work.
Yep.
So as soon as my sister became stable, I went to my ancestors and said, can we shift this genetic pattern in the family? I went back to the original ancestor who died of a broken heart when he saw his family slaughtered, when his village was overrun, and his wife and his children killed. And he decided he didn't want to live anymore because his heart was broken. Mm-hmm. We changed his life because he took his family and part of his village who was willing to leave away from that site before they were overrun. And he lived a happy and fulfilled life. I brought that energy back into the present and shifted it. And since that time, my sister's heart has stabilized. She is on no heart medication. My brother is taking a blood thinner and is on no other heart medication. He is totally stable. My niece is not showing any other signs of heart disease, and no one else in the family has come up with any indications of heart problems. And that was 10 years ago.
Wow. That's incredible. When you say you go back to the ancestors, is it like a meditation?
I take people on a shamanic journey through time and space to meet their ancestors. And Sean, let me mention this for people who go, oh, but I don't know who my ancestors are. Because a lot of us don't know anyone further back than our grandparents or maybe great-grandparents. Right. You don't need to know that because our genes are the highway to our ancestors. And so I've taken people back through time and space on a shamanic journey 1,000 years, 2,000 years, to caveman days, to Egyptian times, to Aztec times, because your genes can take you back to those ancestors. And we always find that right ancestor.
Wow. So I'm trying to imagine, what's taking place, because you talked about the ceremonialist and how you go on the journey. Is it just, I'm picturing, going back like in your mind, like a meditation almost. Is that kind of like how it starts? Is like you just, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's like a meditation journey.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Like a meditation journey. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then we go back.
Do you have naysayers? I'm really curious about this because I'm totally like
Right.
I'm digging this. Like I'm totally like this. This is like super cool to me, because it's not only is it different, but it's like how, like right? You're like, wait a minute. Like we're literally
Sean,
talking about Back to the Future stuff. You know what I mean? Like I dig this. You know what I mean?
you got it. You got it.
So,
Hey.
so to me, this is super cool. But there's got to be people that are like, oh, what a bunch of crap, and like some naysayers, right?
Hey, I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you, my brother is definitely a naysayer because he's going, oh, go away. I don't believe this moo
Right.
stuff. Get out of my face.
My sister's so weird.
Yeah, definitely. I'm the weird one in the family. Yes. And
That's so cool.
when I finished my first book in 2012, I ended the book saying, I really wish science would catch up with the indigenous healing patterns, because this shamanic journeying is something that indigenous people all over the world have done for thousands of years. You will find this not only in Native American traditions, but also in the Aboriginal traditions, and the Buddhist traditions, and the Eastern traditions. This is a very common practice. And so I said, one of these days, science is going to, catch up with this. And it did, because this is what epigenetics is all about. The science of epigenetics started when the scientific community started studying the human genome. And what epigenetics has found is that our belief system actually affects our genes. That's what I was talking about when I said that when we believe something, our memories are inherited from our families. And those belief systems of, my mother had heart disease, my grandfather had heart disease, everybody in my family dies of a heart attack, which means I'm going to die of a heart attack.
Wow.
That's what affects us. And it affects us on a genetic level. Oh, every woman in my family has breast cancer. I guess I'm going to get breast cancer. That affects us. That affects us on a cellular level. And not only does it affect us on a cellular level, but these are thoughts and these are words that we heard when we were very young, when we were growing up, that permeated our belief system. And so we eat incorrectly, we drink incorrectly, our lifestyle is affected by it, and our world is affected by it. And so our whole life revolves around, oh, well, I'm going to get sick when I get into my 30s or in my 40s or in my 50s, or I'm going to die before I'm 60. All the men in my family die before they're 60.
Jeez.
So I guess I got a plan on that, right? It also affects our financial beliefs. Most of us come from families that have a history of slavery, of genocide, of serfdom, of feudalism, of being servants. And so we grew up with this belief that, oh, we'll never be rich. We have to work hard. The rich get richer and the poor stay poorer.
Yeah, that's a belief.
The world is a tough place.
Yep.
You got to hang on to everything you get. Right?
Oh, yeah.
those beliefs are set in our cells. And
Really?
epigenetics, yeah. And epigenetics say, yeah, those beliefs are set in your cells, but you can turn off those negative beliefs. And you can turn on your positive genes. You can turn on healthy genes and turn off your negative genes. Do you know, Sean, you can turn on success genes?
I did not know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Epigenetics has been studied, and there are positive things that you can do to turn on genes for health, for success, for happiness, and for love.
Wow. That's amazing.
You can actually transform your life, and you can turn off all of those negative genes that you have inherited from your family.
Wow. Well, let's. You had mentioned, you can do this and transform your life. Let's talk about this. The whole purpose of the show is to highlight those transformational moments that have changed our lives and put us on the path to what we're doing today. It directed our steps. So somebody goes through, let's say it's a heart attack, and they say, man, I can't live my life this way, and they transform their life and they don't have any heart attacks anymore. Or
Right.
you have a client that you're working with, and like you said, your family, hasn't suffered from the heart disease, in 10 years. So what was a transformational moment in your life that happened which directed your steps and put you on the path to what you're doing today?
All right. Let me tell you about the time that my life changed. I grew up in a typical dysfunctional family, okay?
Okay.
I have heard many stories of the transformation in our lives that I hear on your show every day. I came from a family of 8 children. My father was an alcoholic, and my mother was mentally ill. And there was physical and emotional and sexual abuse in the family, which no one talked about. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, this was all a secret, and you never mentioned anything. And, of course, if anyone ever said anything about it, it's like, oh, you're lying. You're just making that up. No one, that couldn't have happened. And I had heard stories of this as I was growing up, but of course nobody ever mentioned anything until one day about 20 years ago, it finally blew up and came out into the open that there was multi-generational sexual abuse in the family. Wow. And that was when there was name calling and blame and denial, and people were calling each other names, and no one was talking to each other, and there was finger pointing. And I, of course, was the family peacekeeper. I was the one who always made everything better, and everybody came to me and said, "Oh, you've got to stop them from talking about this. You've got to tell her that she was wrong. Oh, I couldn't possibly have done that." And everything was in total chaos. No one was talking to each other, and I couldn't make anything better. So I went into this deep meditation and called upon Spirit and said, "Help me. I can't do anything about this. You have got to show me a way that I can resolve this." And that's when Spirit led me on this journey to my ancestor. And that's when I connected with the ancestor where the sexual abuse began. And what I learned is I went back 450 years to the ancestor who basically called upon the goddess because that was the time when they were hanging women because they were threatening, because the men were being threatened by the women's power. They wanted the women's property. They wanted the women to basically shut up and stay home and have babies and not interfere in the political system. And so any woman that got out of line, they weren't burning them at that time, they were hanging them.
Wow.
And so this circle, it was during that period of time where they were suppressing women. And so this circle of women got together and they called upon the goddess and they said, give us the power over men to protect ourselves. And we want the power to control men through our sexuality. And this power was going to be transferred to their daughters. But through the generation, when they didn't have daughters, it transferred to their sons. But it didn't transfer directly because it was only supposed to go to their daughters. And so what happened is it turned into abuse. And of course, it morphed into the abusers becoming the abused.
Yep.
And when the ancestor saw what had happened over the generations, she was devastated. She was totally devastated. And so she went back and called upon the goddess in the circle to remove that curse. And so that curse was lifted. We came back into this time and place and removed all of that sexual abuse from the family. At that point, there was domestic abuse in the family between husbands and wives. Several of the nieces had been raped. I had been near raped at least twice, and almost abused by my uncle. And there were all kinds of things going on in the family. Since that time, there's been no domestic abuse in the family. Several of my sisters got divorced from abusive husbands. None of my nieces have had any abuse, and all of that sexual dysfunction has been gone from the family.
Wow, that's amazing.
And so I came back with that and I went, this is awesome. So I started practicing on my family and friends. And I said, oh, here, let me help you. And that's when the ancestors came to me and said, we can help others. And you can help others. And that's when I took this out into the world. And
wow.
And I've done work on myself and other family members, and that's when I started working with clients to help them with their financial problems. I've cleared out like 4 and 5 generations of bankruptcy. And I've cleared out difficulties with generations of relationship problems where men have abandoned wives and children for generations. And the women now can marry and have strong, long-lasting relationships, healthy relationships in their lives. And men can find partners that they can really connect with. This is powerful work.
Yeah.
And I don't stop just with, you connect with your ancestor, you get a new story, bless you, go on your way, and everything's good. Because you have to take action on it too. you have to follow through with, if you're unhealthy, you need to change your diet. You need to exercise. You clearly need to continue following your doctor's orders until your body responds. If you have financial difficulties, you need to get a financial advisor. You may need to change jobs if you're unhappy in it, but it gives you the energetic basis to strengthen your life, and you clear out the blocks. What's blocking you from reaching for that new life, that new purpose, that new understanding?
Wow. I absolutely love that. And thank you for showing your vulnerability and sharing with us that story. Some of the topics that we cover on the show aren't easy for people to talk about. We've had people who were sexually assaulted, people who were raped multiple times, people who lost loved ones. These are tough moments that people go through, and they're not to be taken lightly. So I love that. Yeah, I love that transformational moment. It literally was an awakening for you to say, oh my gosh, like this is a thing, and I got to learn more about this, and I got to start practicing, and I got to, right? It was like you saw the results, you saw the fruits of your labor, and so here we are. It's brought you to the show, and like I said before, we had an amazing conversation over at New Media Summit. It was absolutely incredible. I loved it. And
yeah.
So what I want to do right now for the remaining couple minutes, tell people how they can work with you, tell people how they can contact you, and how you elevate the world around you.
Oh, I would love to. I do private sessions with clients where I can help them clear those family generational patterns and their blocks to their health, their finances, their relationships, and their world. And so you can go to my website that's on your page, ancestrallineageclearing.com, and we can do private one-on-one sessions. I also have some programs that they can get. One of the programs that I've created that's very helpful is Activate Your Happiness Codes. And This is a 7-step program where if you would like more success and happiness in your life, this is a week-long program that's based upon these epigenetic studies that actually shows you how you can turn on those genetic steps that will actually DNA and prevent other DNA from being damaged. Let me start that again. These are steps like mindfulness, meditation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And people are going, oh, meditation. Yeah, right. But
it works. It works.
It works. And scientific studies have shown that if you meditate on a regular basis, it actually heals damaged DNA.
Yep.
Yeah. So that if you are ill, if you have heart disease, diabetes, cancer, anything, arthritis, autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia, depression, a regular course of meditation can actually heal your genes. Gratitude practice. A gratitude practice heals your brain. It heals your brain by making those connections between your right brain and your left brain. And so this Activate Your Happiness
Can I say something real quick?
Oh, right ahead, John.
Science has proven that instituting a daily gratitude habit has been linked to lowering your anxiety, stress, and depression.
Absolutely.
Scientifically proven. If you every day count 3 blessings a day, I'm grateful for this, and you say it out loud, I'm grateful for my mom. I'm grateful for this business. I'm grateful for you coming on the show today. I'm grateful for my children, my house, my wife, I'm grateful, whatever. And you have a gratitude practice. You do this every day. It's literally been linked to lowering your anxiety, stress, and depression. You cannot be depressed and grateful at the same time. It cannot happen. Those two feelings cannot. It doesn't happen.
And stress is the number one factor for triggering ill health in our lives.
Yep.
So I
100%.
have programs like that on my website. And if you sign up for my newsletter, there's 2 free articles that you get on changing your heritage patterns and 3 steps to a successful attitude.
I love it. Oh my gosh, this has been absolutely incredible. I got goosebumps halfway through, and when you were talking about going through the metaphysical and the epigenetics and going and seeing the ancestors from before and transforming and changing, that genetic clearing, so absolutely incredible. I love everything about it. I don't look at it as like the woo woo, like the healing crystals, like that stuff. Like this type of this energy work or ancestral clearing, and I'm just totally interested in that. And learning and just I don't know. It's cool to me. It's different. I don't know. It's cool to me. So anyway, I want to thank you so much for being an amazing guest. It is everything that I hoped it would be. And I wish you the best Christmas and into the new year.
Oh, thank you so much, Sean. It has been such a pleasure to be here and to talk to you and to connect with your audience. It's been delightful.
Thank you so much. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around her in such a unique way. If anything resonated with our conversation today, please connect with Ariann Thomas. The Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the social platforms are right there. Connect with her. Send her a message. Send her a message and let her know that you heard her on Life Transformation Radio. And with that, I close the show by saying live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live the values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.